Andrew Mangiapane, you are an Edmonton Oiler. Welcome back to Alberta. Now you're just a few hours up the road. It's going to be a little bit weird seeing you in an Oilers jersey, and I think it's going to be weird for Oilers fans, and I think it's going to be weird for Flames fans, but you know what? I think we're going to enjoy it. 2 years, $3.6 million per year, which is pretty good value considering the insane prices some teams paid yesterday. Like, for some of those guys that got signed, Ken Holland, what is you doing, baby? Edmonton Oilers fans, you must be rejoicing about that. But I digress. Anyway, Mangiapane literally translates to eat bread. And Andrew got his bread. Plus, he might get his cookies too, because there's a spot open in that top six. And he's probably maybe playing next to Leon Draisaitl or Connor McDavid, or both at some time next season. I think that's pretty cool. Now, it's been a bit of a weird road for Andrew Mangiapane, especially the last few years. Now, first off, this is a guy who was averaging about 16, 17 goals a year, and then he broke out in 21-22 with the Calgary Flames and had over 35 goals, and he was rewarded by Brad Treliving with a $5.5 million AAV over the next 4 years and promptly regressed, as did the Flames, back to his career average. 17, 18 goal years. Not great. Now, $5.5 million yesterday got you like a third pairing defenseman. That's fine. But $5.5 million half a decade ago was like, that's a guy that you expect to contribute significant numbers. The cap was in like the $82 million range, not the $95 million range. There's a big change there. So Calgary tried to offload Mangiapane because it just didn't work within their cap system, and they were retooling on the fly, and they found a taker in the Washington Capitals. Now, the Caps, they were pretty smart. They just barely made the playoffs a couple years ago, kind of surprised everybody when Pittsburgh and Philadelphia fell out at the last minute. They got thumped in the first round by the New York Rangers, but this was a team that nobody really gave a whole lot of credence to. We didn't really have a lot of belief that the Caps and Alexander Ovechkin were going to have a fun last few years together, and yet they made bets, and they made some damn good bets. And this is going back 2 years. But you think about guys like Rasmus Sandin, who wasn't fitting in under Sheldon Keefe in Toronto, Pierre-Luc Dubois, who hadn't fit in Los Angeles. What a disaster that was. Jake Chychrun, who wanted out of Ottawa and didn't have the best season with them. His acquisition cost was really nothing. Logan Thompson, who had asked for a new opportunity to get out of Vegas, was traded at the autograph table at the draft. And Charlie Lindgren, who had kind of just bounced around and not been a great goalie for Montreal. The list goes on, but all those guys came in and had career years in the past 24 months. The Caps played a really structured system, a really strict system, and they almost won the President's Trophy. It's kind of an amazing story. Now, Mangiapane's role with the Caps was a little smaller than it was in Calgary. His points were a little less, but he played really, really well and ultimately was a part of a pretty impressive group. Like, his totals last year in terms of actual points was a career low outside of his rookie season, but so was his ice time. And there's a few other stats that are important here, too. Mangiapane went from playing 16 minutes a night on average throughout his career when he was, in Calgary to 13 minutes a night with the Caps. He excelled in that reduced role, like I said, strict structure. Caps played their way almost into the President's Trophy last year. He didn't chip in too much in the playoffs, only getting 2 points. But when he was with the Flames and he was getting more opportunities and more shots at the net, and hang on to that stat, shots at the net, because that's an important one, he was chipping in about half a point a game at the playoff level, which is kind of what Edmonton needs from their depth. Now, in Edmonton, as they look to try to get over the hump and ultimately beat Florida in the finals, they need guys that they could bet on to have bounce-back years, to provide more scoring than people expected them to have. And they need to do it lower in the lineup, but also be like a Swiss Army knife and be able to play and keep up with Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl. We know the Arvidsson thing didn't work. He was traded to Boston. Evander Kane, in a cap dump, was traded to the Vancouver Canucks on the last year of his deal. And we know Connor Brown signed in New Jersey for a deal that I think was just too expensive for the Edmonton Oilers to sign yesterday. And also we know that Zach Hyman is going to be out for at least the first part of the year. So you have to assume Mangiapane, looking at the Oilers, is going, I've got some real options to get some real ice time with the best players on earth. And I think the Oilers were thinking the same thing. Now, Mangiapane's a bit of an undersized forward, but according to NHL Edge, his speed burst put him in the top 71 percentile of NHL players, and his top speed is in the top 74%. And that's valuable to the Oilers, and we all know why. Connor McDavid, Leon Draisaitl. Now, the Oilers, as I mentioned, they need options, not just in the regular season, but in the playoffs. There are going to be injuries, and you need guys who have more than one role on this team. They got to be able to do more than one thing effectively, and I think Mangiapane gives them that. Now, he's a good second power play option. He played a lot of those minutes with the Caps last year. They did try him on the penalty kill a lot throughout the first 3 months of the season, but they went away from that. It might be something the Oilers go to in a pinch. I'm not so certain that he's needed on the PK, but power play too makes a lot of sense. Now, something to look out for with Mangiapane is he's actually a higher end shooter than you'd think. His career average in shooting percentage is right around 14.5%, which probably means he had a bad year in the shooting percentage department and should regress to the mean, right? Wrong. He actually shot above his career average last year, 14.7%. But the problem was he had roughly 30 less shots than the year before. He took about 95 shots last year. It was like 122 the year before and 185 the previous 2 years. That's almost 90 less shots year over year. His shots were cut in half by basically 50% from 2 years ago. And this is a guy that shoots almost 15%. You would have to think that if you give him offensive opportunities, he's the kind of guy like Connor Brown that's a good bet to get back over that 20-goal threshold, which, again, it's the Oilers. Their offense is high-powered. He'll have opportunity. And if the current roster on the left side of the Oilers holds, he'll get a shot at being second-line left wing next to Leon Draisaitl. I'm not even really sure there's a better option next to Leon Draisaitl right now. Plenty of opportunity. It's a 2-year deal. It's a bet. And these guys love betting on themselves. I think the Oilers are going to like this bet too. Now, the Oilers, they still have some work to do. You want to get past the Florida Panthers, who just locked up all the guys that beat you in the Stanley Cup final. You only have $175,000 in which to do it too. There's going to be some trades. And you have to wonder, even though his postseason had some real strong moments, if they try to find a taker for Darnell Nurse and that contract. It just seems to be a little too much at the wrong time, even in the rising cap environment, where, guys that are okay are getting paid a lot of money, Cody Ceci. Stan Bowman clearly has his work cut out for him, but you have to remember they lost in the Stanley Cup Finals last year in Game 7, and then this past year in Game 6. You got to find that extra 1 or 2%, and Mangiapane, I think, goes a long way to at least pushing you towards that goal. I'm not saying he gets you over it, but it's not bad. So all in all, a good deal. It's a good deal for Andrew, good deal for the Oilers. I think Oilers fans should be pretty excited about this. There's potential here, and it'll be hilarious when he's got to go back and play in Calgary 3 or 4 times next year and inevitably scores a hat trick, because that's the way the world works. Dustin Wolf, you're on watch. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Now, I want to ask you a question before I go. You're an Oilers fan. You are looking for that extra little bit to get you past Florida. And listen, my team is in Florida's division. I understand how you might feel about all those guys taking less money to stay in Florida. Do you think Stan Bowman is the guy to get this done? What's the next move? Clearly, it's a trade. What would you do if you were Stan Bowman right now, Oilers GM? Are there trades out there that you think are possible? I don't know what it's going to look like, but it feels like this is going to be a longer sort of summer in terms of roster construction. We'll see what they do. I'm curious to read your comments. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, SDPN's free agency. We do videos for basically everybody. So if you've missed a free agent transaction or something like that, you could probably find it on this channel. Thanks for watching.